Today my goal is to help you understand sections 4.1 through 4.3 for your quiz coming up on Monday. The first thing I'd like us to write down with your red pen, describe the inverse operation of the following values. Class, what does inverse mean? Opposite. Opposite, write that down. All right, this is something that's important that you're going to want to know, so we're just going to put a little cloud around it. So let's figure out what the inverse, or what the opposite of subtracting 15 is. What is it? Adding 15. We're just going to put a little plus 15. Let's go to the right. Just the girls. What's the opposite or the inverse of adding 8? Subtracting 8. Boys, what's the opposite of multiplying by 10? Dividing by 10. And everybody, what's the opposite of dividing by 6? Multiplying by 6. So just remember, we're going to be using these different inverses to help us with our lesson today. For section 2, it asks us to solve the equation and then check our solution. First things first, everybody, identify the variable. X. What is not allowing X to be alone? Okay, so remember, guys, these words that I have up here, I want you to use whether it's add by, subtract by, multiply by, or divide by. So you are correct. Add by 2 is not letting it be alone. Jalen, what do I have to do? What's the opposite of add by 2? Subtract by 2. Class, what you do to one side? You've got to be fair and do it to the other side. Isaac, what happens to plus 2 minus 2?
It cancels out.
And I'm left with only X on the left side. And Hayden, what's my answer?
10.
10 is correct. Please box in your answer. And now it has asked us to check it. Ava, how do I check a problem like this? Very good. Okay, so we're writing that regular original problem, but I know what X is, so I'm going to get rid of it and put what we discovered X was. Drop down your equal sign, because remember, guys, you want to keep your equal signs lined up so your work looks nice and neat. On the left side, Ava, what's 10 plus 2? Does 12 equal 12, class? Yes, give yourself a mini check mark. Talila, identify the variable. Problem B, identify the variable. What's not allowing Y to be alone? Not negative 5.6. Use these words. Subtract by 5.6. How do I get rid of subtract by 5.6? You are correct. We're going to do that to both sides. Einar, when you do that, what's the answer?
1.6.
Not 1.6. We're not subtracting, we're adding them. 12.8 is correct. Box your answer in. Huang, go ahead and check it for me. All right, and Huang, what is 12.8 minus 5.6? Very good, it is 7.2. Class, does 7.2 equal 7.2? Yes, give yourself a mini check mark because it did check out. For problem C, we are multiplying by 4/5. What do I have to do to get rid of a fraction?
Turn it to find its least common denominator.
Nope, let's flip it. What's it called when you flip a fraction? The reciprocal, okay? So anytime there's a case that has a fraction in it, you have to multiply it by the reciprocal, which is technically the KFC method. So what's the reciprocal of 4/5? 5/4. We've got to be fair, so we're also going to multiply the right side by 5/4. Now this idea of the reciprocal is the idea you learned in your flipped classroom. So if it's not sticking with you, go back and watch that 4.2 flipped classroom video again. Braden, what happens on the left side? Very good. You cancel it out and you're just left with X. Hayden, can I cross reduce anything over here? Very good. What does the 4 and 8 become? 1 and 2. And Gavin, what's my answer? Okay, so 10 over 1, but do I need the over 1 part? No, because we're simplifying it. And then remember, we had a negative times a positive, so our answer has to be Has to be a negative 10. Amira, check it for me, please. We're going to write the original problem. 4/5 times x equals negative 8. What do I do with that times x?
Put a negative 10.
Okay. Do I just stick a negative 10 like this?
Now you can add your parentheses.
Good job. We're going to keep parentheses there because that tells me that we are multiplying it. Can I cross reduce?
Yes.
What does?
5 and 10 becomes 1 and 2.
Very good. And what is 4 times negative 2?
Negative 8 equals negative 8.
Very good. Give yourself a mini check mark because it checked out. All right, problem D. Just the girls. Identify the variable. What is not allowing the m to be alone? Divided by 5. What's the opposite of divided by 5? Multiply by 5. On the right side, they cancel out. On the left side, class, what's 6 times 5? 30 equals m. We kind of like the m to be first, so I'm just going to switch it to say m equals 30 for my final answer. Now I've got to plug in to the original problem. What did the original problem say?
6 equals m over 5.
Okay, so instead of m over 5, what will I put?
5.
We're going to do 30 over 5. Class, what is 30 divided by 5? 6. Does 6 equal 6?
Yes.
Give yourself a mini check mark. Next one, Matthew, identify the variable. R. What is not allowing R to be alone? It is not subtract by 7. What does it mean whenever you have a number next to a letter? Can you help him, class? What's it mean when a number is next to a letter? That means you have to multiply them together. So that actually says negative 7 times R. So how do I get rid of multiply by negative 7? Good job. Not divide by 7, by negative 7. If there's a negative 7 there, that's the exact number that I have to get rid of. So I'm going to divide by negative 7 on both sides. Hope, what's my answer? Okay, now I'm dividing with one negative right there. That's an odd number of negative signs, so my answer has to be? It has to be negative. So the correct answer is R equals negative 4. Jalen, plug it in for me. How do I check that? And what should I plug in for that times R? No, we're just plugging in exactly what R is. Negative 4. All right, Jalen, when you have a negative times a negative, what's your answer? Positive. 28 does equal 28, so give yourself a mini check mark. Next problem, just the boys. Identify the variable. W. What is not allowing W to be alone? Add by 1/6. You're going to have to write kind of small on this one just because they are fractions. How do I get rid of add by 1/6? Subtract by 1/6. And make sure you're fair and you do it to both sides. Drop down your equal sign. On the left side, Talila, what's 2/6 minus 1/6? 1/6. Okay, on the right-hand side, Einar, what happens to 1/6 minus 1/6? Cancels out to being a 0, and we're just left with a W. And remember, we like the variable to go first, so I'm just going to switch it up. W equals 1/6. Amira, check it for us, please.
Rewrite the original problem.
Very good. After I rewrite the original problem, what should I do?
Switch W for 1/6.
Correct. We're going to plug in 1/6 for W.
Add 1/6 plus 1/6 equals 2/6.
That is correct. Class, does 2/6 equal 2/6? Give yourself a mini check mark. All right, we're going to write the word sentence as an equation. The first one says a number added to 2 totals 18. How can I write that? X plus 2 equals 18. Very good. Next one, Braden. A number minus 10 is 22.
6 minus 10 equals 22.
Excellent. And the final one, Huang. A number divided by 6 equals 3. Remember, I do not want us to use this little division sign. How do we do it instead, Huang? A fraction bar, okay? So what should I write? Very good. Okay, and that says x divided by 6 equals 3. Yesterday we started talking about how to solve two-step equations. I told you about best friends. Guys, who's the best friends in problem A? 5n. That's because there's a number attached to a variable. Take your red pen and I want you to draw a heart around that. That tells us do not separate the 5 from the n until the very end. There are two things that are not allowing the variable to be alone. Reading from left to right, what are they, class?
Multiply by 5.
Very good. The very first one says add by 5. The next one says multiply by 5. So I've got to get rid of, my step said add or subtract first. So I'm going to get rid of plus 5. What's the opposite of plus 5? Subtract 5 on both sides. Einar, what are you left with? Equals 5n. Good job. Am I finished? No. Remember, you're not done until the variable is alone. Who is not allowing the variable to be by itself? Multiply by 5. How do I get rid of multiply by 5? Divide by 5. What you do to one side? So on the left side, 5n divided by 5 cancels out to being 1n, and I just need regular old n. What's 15 divided by 5? 3. Does it ask us to check the problem? No, it doesn't. Okay, most of the time it does, but if it doesn't, you don't have to. However, let's just see if we can figure this out. If I were to plug in a 3 up there on 5 times 3, what would we get? 15. And then if I were to add that 5 right there, what would I get? 15 plus 5 is 20. Is that what we wanted? All right, so mentally we just figured out that it did check out. Good job. Let's go to the next one. I've got 10y minus 6y. Do you guys see that those are like terms? Yes. They're in the same family. What family are they in? The y family. So let's combine the like terms. What's 10y minus 6y? Subtract it. 4y. All right, because remember, same sign, add and keep, different signs, subtract and take the sign of the larger number. The 10 was the larger number, and that's a positive. Am I finished? No, the y is still not alone. Braden, how do I get rid of that 4? You are correct. We're going to divide by 4 on both sides. When we do that, Isaac, what's the answer?
Y equals 6.
Y equals 6 is correct. Box it in. Once again, the instructions don't tell you that you have to check it, but I think it's always a good idea to check it. So let's just see. If I plugged in 10 times 6, what would that be, class? 60. If I were to plug in 6 times 6, what would that be? 36. So up here, we would have 60 minus 36. Class, what is 60 minus 36? 24. Is that what we wanted? It is. So it did check out even though we didn't work out all the steps on our paper. We have one last problem that I want us to work out for a two-step equation. Are there any best friends here?
Yes.
Who's best friends?
X
X divided by 3. Give yourself a tall, skinny little heart showing. Don't take away that 3 until the very end, because remember, you always keep the number that's attached to the variable for the longest time. How do I get rid of the plus 1? You subtract by 1 on both sides. This cancels out. On the left side, Gavin, what am I left with? X divided by 3 equals, Jalen, what does it equal? What's 3 minus 1? 2. Am I finished? No. Hope, what do I have to do? Very good. And remember, the way to show me that you're multiplying by 3 is parentheses with the 3. Why do you think I don't want you to write it like this?
Because you're going to mistake it for X.
It looks like a variable, okay? So instead, we want to make sure that we are using parentheses to show that work. 3 divided by 3 equals 1, and I'm just left with 1x on the left side. And what does x equal?
6.
X equals 6. Box it in. If I were to plug this back in up here, what is 6 divided by 3? 2. If I were to add 1, what do we get? 3. And is that the answer we wanted? Yes, so it did check out. The final 2 problems of today are modeling real life problems. This first part tells us that we have $25 in our bank account. We earned some money on the weekend selling lemonade and deposit it into our account. Then you go out and you buy 4 bags of Takis for $9. And now you have $55 in your bank account. How much money did you earn selling lemonade? You must show an equation to represent the situation. Read me that last sentence one more time. An equation is something that has plus, minus, divide or multiply, and an equal sign, okay? So we're going to come up with an equation right now. Everybody underline the very first sentence you see there. How much money do we have to start out with? $25. Write that down. The next part tells us that we earn some money by selling lemonade. If we earn money, what operation is that? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Add. We are adding. Does it tell us the amount of money we earned? No, that's what we're trying to figure out. So guess what I'm going to put since I don't know what it is? We're just going to put an X. Now I have to go on to the next one. It says you go out and you buy 4 bags of Takis for $9. Circle that $9. We're circling it because that's important. Guys, if you go out and you purchase something, are you adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing your money? You're subtracting it. Unfortunately, we are losing those $9. But it does tell us in the end, now you have $55. Underline that. That means that's our final amount that we have in the end. So class, where it asks you, you must show an equation to represent the situation. This right here is our equation. Do I need to solve for x?
No.
Yes, I do, because it asks me not just to write an equation, but it asks us how much money did we earn? This right here is what represents the amount of money that we earned. So let's solve for x at this point. Notice there are some like terms. So remember when we have like terms, we underline and circle it. We always want to put the variable term first, so I'm going to drop down the x. And class, what is 25 minus 9? 16. Is that a positive or a negative 16? That's a positive 16. So now we have x plus $16 equals $55. How do I get that x by itself?
Get rid of the 16.
Get rid of that 16. We do that by subtracting it. What is x? $39. So here's my question. If I go back up here, it says, how much money did you earn selling lemonade? Should I box in x equals $39? I don't need that x, do I? This right here tells me how much money I earned, so I can just box in the $39. All right, the final modeling real life problem today says the temperature at 6 a.m. is 25 degrees. The temperature rises 3 degrees every hour. What time will the temperature be 34 degrees Fahrenheit? You must show an equation to represent the situation. So here's the deal. Sometimes people have said, okay, I start at 25, I'll just add 3, and then I'll keep adding 3, and then I'll keep adding 3. Guys, is that an equation? No. So I do not want you to do your work like this on your upcoming quiz. Instead, it asks you, you've got to show an equation. Can somebody help me with how you think I can show an equation to help us with this? Amira. No, it actually is not that important right now about the 6 a.m. Help me focus at 6 a.m. How many degrees was it?
25.
So let's start off with just the 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Then it tells me it rises. If it rises, what sign would that be? I am adding, okay? It's going to get bigger. If I said it decreases, what would that be? A subtraction. How much does it increase or rise every hour? 3 degrees. So that's 3 degrees per hour. Do you guys remember that word per? It was on our blue words into math. What does that symbolize or stand for? Multiply. Multiply it per hour. You could put an H for hour, you could put an X for hour, you really could put any variable that you want, but we're trying to figure out per hour. Okay, so that H stands for hour. And then finally, what do we want our temperature to be? We want it to be 34 degrees. And now we have a two-step problem. Do you see any best friends there?
Yes.
3H. Take out your red pen. I want you to heart it just so when you go back to study this, you remember, I've got to keep the number that's attached to the variable for as long as possible. What should I do first to get the variable alone?
Subtract by 25.
Subtract by 25 on both sides. What is 34 minus 25? 9. Am I done?
No.
No, I am not. How do I get the H by itself? You're right. We need to divide by 3 on both sides. 3 divided by 3 on the left equals 1H. And 9 divided by 3 equals 3. What does that H stand for?
Hours.
Hours. So this is saying 3 hours later, it is going to be the amount of degrees that we wanted. So let's go back to the original problem. At the end of a modeling real life, I would always encourage you to go back to the question. This is what it says. What time will the temperature be 34 degrees? Can you guys tell me what time will it be? I don't want to know 3 hours later. I want to know what actual time. 9 o'clock. How did you figure out it was 9 a.m.? All right, that's when we have to come back here. This now is important. It started at 6, and 3 hours later would be 9 a.m. Okay, so these are the notes that you're going to want to really study and focus on for your quiz coming up on Monday.